Right? We won't keep it long. Welcome, everybody, to Dueling Aces for February 26th. And of course, talking about pretty much what even non-race people are even talking about, believe it or not.
It was the number 5 trending sports thing on Twitter last night.
I'm surprised it was that low. I figured it would definitely be 1 or 2.
Well, I mean, I know at one point it was number 1, but it finished off at number 5 overall.
I mean, and I even saw immediately, it was funny because I even showed this to Bryce, and the first thing was, and he didn't even skip a beat. He said, "So what's wrong with the middle car? He didn't stick his tongue out."
Well,
I was just like, he was actually bumping between the two.
Yeah,
as they were coming around that turn.
They were coming off forward and through the dog leg, and Busch was moving. If he had a little bit of support, he probably would have won that race. He needed one more push to get past Suarez and Blaney. But that finish between the top 3 cars, the margin of victory was 3 thousandths of a second.
It's
between between the top 9 finishers, the margin of finishing order was 300ths of a second.
Right, because the next 3, you can see it's like the next 3 were right behind those 3. I've been watching.
I still think Blaney won.
Somebody else had even said that, and I was looking at this one going straight down the line, and I was just like, how do you not literally really look at it and go, how did they really not tie? Because
they have GPS transponders in the cars, and there are laser loop lines throughout the asphalt. So they're going to have the best. I have no doubt that Suarez won, but if you look at the pictures, it looks like Blaney won.
Yeah, and the blurry shots, with these two that we got here are really tough. And that's what I was thinking. I'm like, how could you not have a clear shot like this CBS Sports shot?
Because it's a different camera. You need a high-res camera on the start-finish line. I mean, you're talking about cars that are moving 190 miles an hour. You don't have a frame rate that fast to capture a clear image.
Well, that CBS Sports camera shot, I was like, man, you guys are about a quarter of a second too late on that. Because it would have been cool if they would have caught it with theirs on how good that would have been.
Listen, all I know is that I managed to lose half of my fantasy lineup and still win.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's rewind that a little bit, because there was a massive wreck in the second lap of the race, which
Todd Gilliland was in the middle, and he checked up to let Michael McDowell in, and when he checked up, he stacked everybody else up, and that's what led to that. But half the top 10 was involved in that wreck,
including Suarez himself.
Suarez, Bubba Wallace, Cindric, they were all in it.
Which was, totally amazing in and of itself too, because usually when they're wrecking that often, or even that early, usually you're not winning a race. That's for sure.
It was such a dumb wreck. It wasn't even. It was utterly avoidable, and I don't understand how you get that. I'm not a fan of back-to-back super speedway races to start the season, because that's what Atlanta is now. Is a repaved half-mile super speedway, and the racing yesterday was definitely better than what Daytona was, but this race is also the first race in the playoffs in September. So now people are going to have an unreal expectation that you're going to have 16 guys come in the first round of the playoffs and lay it all out like that, like they did yesterday, when yesterday was week 2 of the season and you can get away with making some dumb mistakes.
Right. This was, I mean, I've been watching racing since about 93, roughly. This, I mean, I like how a lot of articles and Twitter and everybody, they're just like, it's life finally imitating animation or art per se with the Cars movie. And, this really did make it super exciting because I was watching that live and I'm sitting there going, 3 wide, really? And I thought for sure they were going to wreck
They
it.
were 4 wide at one point. Austin
Right.
Cindric shoved it in 4 wide at one point. Listen,
Yep.
that is the best. I watched the Kurt Busch, Ricky Craven finish at Darlington from 03 live. That finish yesterday is the best finish in NASCAR history because they weren't beating and banging. They weren't slamming into each other. They weren't hooked together coming down the front stretch. Those 3 guys just raced each other very hard and very clean for 3 miles.
And it was extremely impressive to watch. It totally was.
That is a level of talent and skill that you are going to be hard pressed to find anywhere else.
I mean, literally, yeah, people are going. Some people are going to go into next week going, God, this could be a disappointment. It's like you popped your cherry pretty darn early.
I don't know because it's.
But this was a. I mean, they had. Correct me if I'm wrong. They said it was the most lead changes ever.
Yeah, it was a record for lead changes,
right? As well. I mean that's an impressive feat.
I mean, you're on a super speedway. I kind of look at lead changes in a super speedway as a little kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Misleading to begin with.
Okay.
Because the lines are constantly moving. You could be out in front for 7, 8 laps, and then all of a sudden the outside line builds momentum, and then now you're back in 15th. So lead changes at super speedways to me always seems kind of asinine of a thing to track because of how frequently it happens. But yesterday was different. That was it. You could build solid runs and take it 3 wide, and it wasn't a few mileage race like Daytona. You didn't have guys riding around half throttle in 50-second laps.
Right. And one of the other things I noticed a lot yesterday too, Truex is one of my guys that I like to follow. Even the commentator said, a couple times he's back there at 15, but then he worked his way right on up into that top 5 because he just kept working that lower line. He had a good line yesterday. And going into the last couple of laps, it was like, oops. It's like, well, you stayed on the line, but it's like, guess what? It's one line's not moving versus the other one is like, well, you fell back pretty hard. But he had he was running really solid yesterday himself.
Hey, you're gonna Yeah, I mean, he was. Him and Kyle Larson had really good runs most of the day yesterday. And I tell you what, though, I want to see what NASCAR is going to do to Joey Logano.
Yeah. I was kind of saving that for a little bit, but yeah, we can go right on into it. Yeah, that's
Sorry, I had to clear my nose out.
no problem.
The problem, I don't know who designed that glove, and where they tested it to figure out that you could get more downforce with it. Because you can see him at Daytona during qualifying take something off of his left hand. So people are suspecting that he had that glove at Daytona too. Which leads to a different question. You have, as a sanctioning body, you have made the window at which these teams can work in so tight because everything is single source supplier and you have to get it from NASCAR approved suppliers.
Okay.
That there's no room to doctor the cars anymore like there was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and 2000s. You don't, and I realized like you had to go this way because you had to save NASCAR from itself because it was going to get to a point where it's going to be the haves and the have-nots completely. But I think there needs to be just a little bit of like wiggle room. You know, like let them play around a little bit.
Well, I mean, because of course, you're our resident NASCAR guru. How big of a difference is it with different gloves?
With what?
With the gloves.
Well, it wasn't what his glove was. Is it looked like a catcher's mitt, and it had webbing sewed in between the fingers, so that he could stick his hand out the window and affect the downforce on the car, and affect the arrow around the car.
I was gonna say, usually, when you're sticking your hand out the window as you're driving, you feel the force that you're driving up against. But I mean, would the glove really give that much of a difference?
With that webbing, and if you're moving your hand and tipping it and moving it, yeah, for sure.
But I mean, there's not a whole lot of room for them to really stick their hand outside.
He doesn't have to. He sticks it right out the A post, right by where the window is. If you look where the window net is, there's a space about yay big that you can get your hand in.
Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't think that would make that much of a difference.
It apparently did, which is crazy to me. It's crazy to me that it made that much difference.
And he ended up wrecking with 22 or 23 laps to go.
Yeah, he ran out of talent and smacked the wall. I'm not a big fan of Joey Logano to begin with. So the fact that I put him in my fantasy lineup yesterday and then he screwed me over.
Oh.
Lord.
That ain't the one I want. No, that's not the one I want. I was gonna say this is the shot from the wall.
Yeah.
Now I've been looking pretty much. I was looking this afternoon to see if there was another. Do they have the other angle or not?
Not usually,
Okay.
but you can see Suarez, the front shadow of that bumper.
Yep.
That splitter's already over the yellow line, and Blaney hasn't even touched it yet.
Yeah. And like I said, that the tip of that shadow is it just I don't know if it's just the way that I mean they've got it. It's a pretty solid angle, but you just it's like all right. Bryce even Bryce even said he goes, it looks like because it's so far away that's how why you can't really tell on how close it is.
I mean, if they tied, can we just get a 5-lap shootout with the three of them? Just rack the three of them up, let them go for 5 laps, see who wins.
Well, I was going to say, it's like I said, it was one hell of a finish, and to literally say, you finally had a movie type ending to a race, is pretty damn cool.
I mean, they've had several good finishes last year, but this one, every once in a while, all of the planets align and something cool like that happens.
Yeah, and like I said, Twitter was blowing up with it, and I had even popped in a few places for work today, and even they were talking about it, saying, "Did you hear about that race?" And it was just like, "Yep, I watched it." And it was pretty cool to hear other people talking about it all day long.
I mean, Ken Carmen talked about it this morning on 92.3 for a while.
Which is something that they usually don't do.
Well, he's a big NASCAR fan. The fact that you're making local sports talk in Cleveland with a finish that happened in Atlanta? Come on.
Yeah. And like I said, it was definitely one of the big things. It topped Sports Center.
Yes.
It topped Sports Center. It's like, yeah, you'd be stupid not to.
It was number one play of the day yesterday.
And totally deserving so. Totally deserving so.
I like how my quilt that I'm wearing just looks like I have just a crappy bathrobe around me.
No, like I said, I mean, as much as I've been having issues logging in on my little NASCAR fantasy thing.
Did you finally figure it out?
I have. I've gotten access in, but I'm going to have to find the league to see if I can find the league through it.
Go to Fantasy Live.
Yeah, I'm going to later on, and I'll make sure I check it and I'm in it.
Because
I'll go from there. But
I mean, you're still in it. That's the thing.
Yeah, I know that. Like I said, but it's under my different login apparently. So I had to change something up on it yesterday. But to be able to watch, the really cool thing is, especially on the NASCAR website itself, they give you the option to,
all the cameras,
the ride along with the cars with four different cars, and with a double screen setup, you can watch 8 as long as the internet's holding up well. But I mean, it's really cool to watch. It's really cool to watch it that way with the broadcast going as well. It was a lot of fun to watch it that way. I mean, especially when you see the wrecks happening right in front of you, it's just like, oh my God. And a few times on Logano's specifically, somebody was just barely that 3 inches and just passed the whole thing. It was like he stayed high, and I was like, oh my God, he was next. Nope, he got right through unscathed. And I forgot who it was.
The thing about the NASCAR website, which is cool, is if you go through the app or even on the website, you have access to the scanners. So you can watch the cameras and listen to their communications at the same time.
Yeah, which is a lot of fun because, I mean, talk about letting the fans, in on, and especially learning more about how
I
races
told you
are
a couple
run.
weeks ago, NASCAR does it the best for fans.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it was almost like Zolt's fan league football when you hear the coaches, making the calls in and everything, and the guys are talking about it in the huddles and what they're going to do, and yeah, NASCAR has definitely done a very nice job, and the access for it all is amazing, totally amazing. I really enjoy it. And like I said, to be able to, and you can change up cars, you know, throughout the whole race. It's very cool. I had a really good time watching it yesterday. And like I said, to have, the national broadcast going as well. I mean, it is super cool. It definitely makes it a lot more fun to watch.
It does. It does a lot. Oh. Speaking of fun to watch, pay-per-view was fun to watch on Saturday morning.
Oh, the 5 a.m. wake up call for Elimination Chamber. I was impressed on the women's Elimination Chamber ending, but was disappointed with the guys.
I thought the guys was better than the girls.
Really?
Yes. Because there were 3 girls in that elimination chamber that shouldn't have been there. Liv shouldn't have been in there. Naomi shouldn't have been in there. And Raquel Gonzalez shouldn't have been in there. And to be quite honest, I would have changed the finish. I would have still had Becky go over,
Yeah.
but I would have had her beat Tiffany Stratton by this much. Because Tiffany Stratton is your next star. That girl's a star. She's an Olympic level gymnast. And she gets it. She's a star. And
Is Liv falling kind of like the wayside of being almost, I know they hate the terminology, the jobber? But
no,
I mean, Liv is just kind of like stuck, like super stuck, in my opinion.
I think she's kind of made her bed. Now she's stuck in it for like that's until she's pigeonholed herself. But like somebody in one of the message boards, Facebook posts, whatever, talked about how that Becky's supposed to be taking time off after WrestleMania and going to go to like a part-time schedule.
Okay.
And that makes sense. So you're going to put Becky in with Rhea and put Rhea over so she gets the rub from Becky because Becky's done it all. Having Rhea beat Becky makes a lot of sense.
And I know that Bianca and her hubby have been talking about trying to have a kid themselves, but she's undecisive, kind of, because she knows she's in a peak part of her career.
I mean,
Becky's doing it. Help me here. Who else? Becky's. I was gonna say Becky's been mom. Naya is now. I mean, you got a lot of these women who are the mom.
Naya have a baby?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so there's about 3 or 4 that are all quote unquote the moms, but are still wrestling. So I wouldn't think too much that Bianca would have that much of a hard time. I mean, and she's a very, I was going to say, she's a pretty high caliber star at the moment.
Who
Just
is?
Bianca.
I mean, yes. Yes.
So I wouldn't think that there would be much of an issue.
No. I mean, with Bianca, it's one of those. I mean, she is a star. So she's going to be in your future plans for a while. But they set up a really I hope Orton was just selling and he didn't get hurt again.
Right.
Because that bump that he took doing that DDT looked nasty.
Seriously. Seriously ugly.
But you have now set up Logan Paul and Randy Orton and the continuation of Kevin Owens and Logan Paul. You could have a triple threat match between all three of them at WrestleMania for the US title.
I'm having a hard time with Logan Paul. I just don't get. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I am having a hard time with his.
He's a draw, and he actually does really good.
But his storytelling in the ring
is way better than you think it is.
Really?
Yes.
I'm just totally missing out on that.
Just two, but I just want some water. Oh, okay. I mean, he is much better than you think he is. And if you listen to any of the boys in the back talk to him or talk about him, he came in and asked all the right questions and did all the right things.
Okay.
And he tries to get better every time he's out there. So I have no issue with Logan Paul.
All right, maybe I'm just missing, because it doesn't seem to go like when Miz came in and he really, how he turned around and how his storytelling came across, how especially when he's working with, Stone Cold, Rock, Randy, Taker, I mean, he really worked it, and I don't know, it doesn't look like Paul's. I mean, it looks like he's, like you said, he's asking all the right questions, but it looks like it's taking, like he's doing it in baby steps in front of the camera, and he just can't really put it all together fluidly.
He puts it together more fluidly than you think.
Okay.
If you go back and watch the Crown Jewel pay-per-view from Saudi,
Right,
where he even admitted he short shot Ray and then saved him because Ray didn't get enough of a vault either.
right.
And so to have that type of ring awareness to take another step forward and to save Ray so that he doesn't kill himself and have the strength to save him. Yeah. Oh yeah. I was where you were the first time Logan Paul showed up. I was like, why? This guy sucks. He's terrible. And the more I've watched him and the more I've listened to him, he's a draw. He's a heel. He is Jerry Lawler and Rowdy Piper and guys that run their mouth and have not limited in-ring skill, but they have a few things that they do and they do it well, and then they hide the negatives, accentuate the positives.
I was gonna say maybe it's because I'm just picking off a lot of the negative when I'm watching it.
I mean, there's a lot of negative to pick off in that pay-per-view as a whole, especially in that women's chamber match.
Oh, yeah, that was tough.
Because I got up at 5 and watched it Saturday morning because I couldn't sleep. And then we watched it again later that night.
Yeah, I watched it Saturday night, I think is when I caught it.
And
I was trying to catch it right around afternoon, and I was like, oh, well, no, it was about 10 o'clock actually when I thought I could catch. And it's like, well, you can't watch the replay, and it's like, stuck with stupid Peacock. It's like, when the WWE Network had it, you could start it and pick up on it where, from the beginning, you could actually watch it. Peacock, you got to sit there and it's like, oh, well, you got to wait until it's over. And then it's like, well, give us an hour to get it all reset. And then you can turn around and watch it over again. I'm like, I can't wait until it gets off of Peacock.
It's not coming off of Peacock.
I thought it was. I thought, whatchamacallit, parent
Netflix is going to air Raw. But
no, but I thought that the pay-per-views were coming off of Peacock. And
they might be.
I thought that was going to be part of the deal.
They might be. I had a train of thought and then I lost it. I'm trying to get through this headache and sinus.
They're on until March of 2026.
Oh, so to bring up something old from days gone by, I do have an FU guy of the week from Saturday.
Whoa. Hey now, a bearded bastard. All right. Privileged. First time on Dueling Aces.
So we were
bless you.
I don't know if you do this very often at your house, but every once in a while we just have all the lights off and just watch TV in the dark house.
We got blind people here.
I mean, we do too, but you've seen how close the couch is to the TV.
Right.
That bad.
Yeah.
But me and the boy and the wife were all on the couch in our blankets watching the pay-per-view again, and we were both hungry, we were all hungry. And I said that mashed potatoes and gravy from KFC sounds really good.
Oh.
And so we decided, I looked on the app and they had it was a 6-piece with 2 sides and biscuits for $20. And then we ordered another thing of mashed potatoes and gravy. So I order it, I Apple Pay it, it pays, I get the confirmation, everything. So I send Madison to go get it. And Madison calls me and says, they don't have it. I said, what do you mean they don't have it? I said, I have a confirmation that it's ready for pickup. And she says, they said they never received the order. I was like, that's bullshit. So I am arguing with them through the phone with her at the drive-thru. And I'm like, all right, forget it. I'm just going to put my shoes on and I'm going to drive up there. So I drive up there. I show the dude my phone. I'm like, it's paid for. It's ordered. It's at this restaurant. Make my food. Well, we don't have any record of it. I'm telling you, you do, because I'm looking at it right here.
Yep.
Well,
and he doesn't want to go to his computer, and it's on his damn computer.
And so he says, well, the app is corporate owned, and we're a corporate store, but we don't have access to the app.
Oh.
I was like, yeah, you do.
Guess who fixes them? They do. We have Pizza Hut, KFC, and Taco Bell.
So, dude gets really crappy with me, and he's like, the only thing I can tell you to do is call corporate and get a refund. I was like, dude, this is my dinner. Like, this is dinner. Yeah, well, I don't know what to tell you. Bye. And then he shut the window on me.
Oh, there's a district manager getting a phone call.
So I called corporate and explained to corporate what was going on. And corporate's like, well, we can see the order. I don't understand why they don't see it.
Because he didn't want to do it. They screwed up.
So corporate is supposed to refund $25 of my money.
I'd still have a district manager phone call. But that's just the kind of guy I am. I get on district managers and I get the district managers on the restaurant, especially if I frequent that particular one.
I don't go to that KFC very often, but it just like getting my family to eat KFC is kind of difficult because I'm the only one who really likes their fried chicken.
Fair enough.
So like I was really looking forward to the mashed potatoes and gravy and the coleslaw.
Right. Especially the coleslaw.
Yes.
Oh. That sounds good right now. Dang it.
So yeah, that's my.
They closed the Independence Melt.
Really? That's weird. My wife just told me they closed the Independence Melt for good.
Well, speaking of closures, it popped up here a couple hours ago that 41 Outback Steakhouses got shuttered for good.
I wonder if the one in Fairlawn was one of them.
As well as Carrabba's and who was the other restaurant? Carrabba's and somebody else.
Macaroni Grill?
No, it's
Bonefish.
Yes, Bonefish Grill.
I feel bad for individuals who, when they shutter the doors, lose their jobs. But in this late stage capitalism, I don't care if you close your business up, because at some point something has to rectify the market so that things become a little bit more affordable again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a lot of Outbacks in Pennsylvania and Hawaii all were closed. Bonefish Grill locations in New Jersey and Virginia, and at least 3 Carrabba's locations in New York. And they were
in Ohio.
They were due to underperforming restaurants.
Well, listen, that Outback that's over in Fairlawn, I don't know how they're still open, because they have a Lone Star literally right across the street.
Which, oh my gosh, Lone Star is like, yeah.
The Longhorn.
Oh, Longhorn, not Lone Star, Longhorn.
Well, even Lone Star is better than Outback, in my opinion. But yeah, that would be interesting if that was in Ohio, right? Said Outback in Fairlawn?
Yeah. Montrose.
Let's see. Oops.
Hey, do you want to check my pizza?
Outback in Fairlawn, permanently closed.
That's what I thought.
Yep. Permanently closed. Wow. Well, the one in Waterford, Michigan is open. Well, good call on that one.
We got any more pressing matters to talk about?
No, sir. I think we are we've covered what we can for today, what we wanted to, especially with the NASCAR stuff. So we've got literally nothing left because free agency and everything else doesn't kick for another 2 weeks. And right now it's nothing but a bunch of smokescreen and mirrors and
Well,
football.
I thought
And
tagging started last Tuesday, or it starts
um,
tomorrow.
it they they can tag, but the signing of the tag sheets and stuff still is yet to occur. But um, right now, the only main one that we've seen is T. Higgins, which we actually even called that one out 2 weeks ago. And so
Right.
to us, it was not the world's biggest secret, and we were right. So guess what? We played that one pretty good.
Well,
Um,
when Zolt's back, we're gonna have to talk about that video I sent of Greenberg.
Yes, I definitely want to bring that up when the guys are back in. There's been a couple of ordeals that Adam's got stuff he had to take care of. Dave had stuff that he had to take care of. Of course, we definitely wanted to get at least this NASCAR finished. Definitely, since everybody else is definitely talking about it, we needed to get it covered today. So,
Hey, listen, right now I am up by 30 points in the league overall, and I won yesterday, and Zolt did not. So we'll just
and hopefully we get my stuff corrected, and I'll at least make somewhat of an attempt to catch up.
you
So
can catch up pretty quick.
I'm sure if I pick the right drivers and stay away from the
Listen,
22.
Listen, there are weeks where I lose like 3 out of my 5 drivers, or 4 out of my 5.
True.
You got some road courses coming up that are going to be a big opportunity to gain points. So like,
Oh yeah.
but I'm going to go lay back down on my couch with my quilt and try to get better.
Yep. You definitely take care of that, sir. Like I said, I've been trying to knock it out of my own system for the past 4 or 5 weeks. Bryce and I both have. So you get better. Everybody else who's tuned in, thank you for jumping in with us and catching us. And we'll catch y'all on the flip side, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.